I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
She was supposed to be Disney's next princess. Instead, she became their worst nightmare. Rachel Zegler went from Hollywood's golden girl to industry pariah faster than anyone in recent memory. And the shocking reason why has executives still reeling. In just 18 months, she didn't just tank a $300 million movie. She destroyed her own career with a series of jaw-dropping interviews that left fans worldwide absolutely furious.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged. I truly do believe that.
The Snow White disaster wasn't just another flop, it was a spectacular implosion that reportedly had Disney scrambling to distance themselves from their own leading lady before the film even premiered. The behind-the-scenes drama was so explosive that insiders claim studio execs were privately predicting catastrophe months before release. The fairy tale began like a dream. After beating out 30,000 other hopefuls for the role of Maria in Spielberg's West Side Story, Zegler skyrocketed from complete obscurity to Hollywood's most buzzed-about newcomer overnight. Critics loved her performance, she won a Golden Globe, and powerful industry players immediately saw dollar signs. When Disney announced she would lead their $300 million live-action Snow White remake, it seemed like the perfect success story. A young Latina actress from New Jersey suddenly playing Disney's most iconic princess.
Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
Disney's initial marketing strategy was carefully calculated and ambitious. Insiders reveal the studio had mapped out a multi-year campaign designed to position Zegler as the new face of the Disney princess lineup. The plan included everything from theme park appearances to merchandise deals worth potentially hundreds of millions. Marketing materials described her as the princess for a new generation, and early focus groups responded positively to test footage. Disney reportedly invested over $50 million in the initial marketing push alone, an extraordinary amount even for their standards. The company's press strategy centered around emphasizing the film's modern sensibilities while reassuring longtime fans that the spirit of the original remained intact. They planned a gradual rollout of information, starting with how the classic songs would be preserved before slowly introducing the updated elements.
They're remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs, okay?
Okay, but what do they call them?
Why would they
too?
get rid of the dwarves, though?
Magical creatures.
But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group, you just erased that whole image.
Costume reveals and set photos were meticulously scheduled to build anticipation without revealing too much too soon. Studio executives were thrilled with their casting choice, imagining both massive profits and positive press coverage. Early projections estimated opening weekend earnings at $150 million domestic, with global totals potentially reaching $1 billion. Merchandise partnerships with major retailers were already being finalized, and talk of a sequel was reportedly underway before a single scene had been filmed. What those same executives never saw coming was how quickly their new star would become a PR disaster, turning from their biggest asset into their biggest headache before filming even wrapped. The trouble started when Zegler began talking about Snow White in press interviews. Rather than showing excitement about joining Disney's legendary legacy,
and if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
She repeatedly criticized the very story she was being paid millions to remake. During promotional appearances, she dismissed core elements of the beloved classic that generations had grown up with. She suggested the original story was outdated and needed major changes for today's audiences. Her comments about the prince character and Snow White's goals in life struck many fans as disrespectful to the source material they cherished. As videos of these interviews spread online, the backlash hit with unprecedented fury. #boycott Snow White began trending worldwide within hours, quickly gathering over 2 million mentions. Disney fans weren't just annoyed, they were absolutely livid, organizing online campaigns and flooding every Snow White-related post with angry comments. Here was an actress with barely 2 movies on her resume, seemingly talking down to millions of devoted fans about why their cherished childhood classic needed fixing. The social media response was brutal and relentless. TikTok creators with millions of followers made viral videos mocking her interviews, often getting tens of millions of views in days. YouTube reaction channels dedicated entire series to analyzing her tone-deaf comments. Twitter users created elaborate side-by-side comparisons of her statements versus scenes from the original film, pointing out contradictions.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it, you didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
The phrase "girl boss Snow White" became an instant meme, with social media flooded by savage mockery and endless parody videos. Fan forums that had initially celebrated her casting now featured thousands of comments from disappointed Disney devotees vowing to skip the film. Even mainstream entertainment sites that typically avoid controversy ran headlines questioning if Zegler was sabotaging her own movie. The backlash wasn't limited to hardcore fans either. Casual moviegoers who rarely engaged in online discourse were sharing the controversy with comments like, "Who trashes the character they're playing?" And "Does she even like Snow White?" Countless viewers felt she was pushing a forced feminist message into a beloved fairy tale. What began as standard promotional interviews spiraled into a PR nightmare that marketing experts now study as a textbook case of how to completely alienate your core audience before they'd even seen a single frame of the movie. Behind the scenes, tensions were apparently growing. People in the industry whispered about awkward vibes between Zegler and co-star Gal Gadot, who played the evil queen. Their joint appearances became uncomfortable to watch, with fans analyzing every glance and gesture for signs of problems. Their moment presenting together at the Oscars stood out. The two actresses showed almost no chemistry and barely interacted, fueling rumors that Gadot was trying to stay away from the growing controversy.
This is no ordinary apple, my dear. It's a magic wishing apple. A wishing apple? You offer it to me freely. In place of the patriarchy, you would have a queen!
Unlike her younger co-star, Gadot carefully avoided criticizing the original film in interviews, focusing instead on her excitement about playing the villain. As the controversy grew louder, Disney stayed strangely quiet. They didn't try to control the damage or change their messaging strategy, they just continued business as usual. But their creative choices raised more eyebrows. They replaced the iconic seven dwarfs with magical creatures, keeping just one dwarf among them, downplayed the love story, and completely changed the tone fans expected. Actor Peter Dinklage ironically criticized the remake for erasing representation of little people. He pointed out that removing the dwarves actually eliminated important representation from the film. He suggested changing problematic elements of the story if needed, but not erasing the characters entirely. When the film finally hit theaters, the disaster everyone feared became reality in spectacular fashion. Snow White opened to terrible box office numbers, becoming one of Disney's worst-performing remakes ever. Critics tore it apart, but audience scores were even worse. The film crashed to a shocking 1.6 rating on IMDb, making it one of the lowest-rated big studio movies in recent history. Theater employees posted videos of nearly empty screenings online. One viral TikTok showed just 2 people attending a primetime showing. The internet didn't just reject the film, people actively celebrated its failure.
Not white, but diverse, inclusive, and equitable! I will become the leader I know I can be! All shall love me and despair!
For Disney executives watching the money figures roll in, the message couldn't have been clearer. They had a $300 million disaster on their hands. The consequences came quickly. Reports surfaced that Zegler had quietly been dropped from voice work on upcoming Toy Story projects. Other rumored roles mysteriously disappeared. While Disney never publicly commented on her status, industry insiders noted the loud silence about her future with the company. The actress who had once represented Disney's bright future now seemed to be history. The professional collapse affected her personal life too. After the Snow White debacle, Zegler reportedly split with her boyfriend Josh Andres Rivera. The couple, who had met during West Side Story filming, had been seen as a rising Hollywood power couple. Friends close to them suggested the constant online attacks and career uncertainty created too much stress on their relationship. For Zegler, already dealing with professional humiliation, the breakup added another layer of public scrutiny to an already overwhelming situation. Perhaps the clearest sign of how far Zegler's star had fallen came when The Simpsons announced an episode specifically parodying her. The famous animated show created Snow Oak the Reimagining, a brutal takedown featuring a character named Rachel Z, who was unmistakably based on Zegler. The parody pulled no punches, showing her character rewriting fairy tale lore, banning princes, and delivering self-important speeches to confused villagers while her movie played to empty theaters in Springfield.
I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
The episode didn't stop there. It featured a climactic meltdown scene where the Rachel Z character appeared on Krusty the Clown's talk show, only to have an epic public breakdown when confronted with her film's failure. She blamed the audience for not being ready for her vision and stormed off the set while declaring herself too progressive for Springfield. The town's residents then gathered to watch the original Snow White instead, with even the show's most liberal character, Lisa Simpson, remarking that some classics don't need fixing. For any celebrity, being mocked by The Simpsons means crossing the line from famous to infamous. The show has a 30-year history of skewering politicians, celebrities, and public figures, but only those who have become cultural punchlines. Elvis, Michael Jackson, and even presidents have gotten The Simpsons treatment, but it's never a sign your career is heading in the right direction. For a young actress still early in her career, it showed just how drastically her public image had changed from promising newcomer to Hollywood cautionary tale. Industry insiders noted that the episode wouldn't have been greenlit unless Zegler's public perception had already reached a point of no return.
There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
In a bizarre twist that made things even worse, a fake adult content profile using computer-generated fake images of Zegler appeared online. While completely fake, the account went viral immediately, with thousands following and sharing it. The fact that many people initially believed it was real showed just how badly public perception of her had changed. Her reputation had become so damaged that even outrageous fake stories suddenly seemed believable to many. The incident demonstrated how quickly a celebrity can lose control of their public image in today's digital world. Entertainment industry veterans have noted how incredibly fast Zegler's fall from grace happened. In less than 2 years, she went from being compared to major stars like Natalie Portman and Jennifer Lawrence to becoming a warning story for young actors about the dangers of alienating fans. Casting directors who once eagerly pursued her now reportedly hesitate to connect their projects with what one unnamed studio executive called unnecessary drama. The actress, who should have been building on her promising start, instead found herself trying to rebuild her reputation in an industry known for its short memory and limited second chances. For Disney, the Snow White failure has reportedly caused serious rethinking of how they approach remakes of their classic films. The backlash against perceived political messaging forced into beloved stories proved costly, not just financially, but in terms of audience trust. Internal discussions now supposedly focus on honoring the spirit of the originals while updating them thoughtfully, rather than seeming to reject the very classics they're trying to profit from. The lesson was expensive but clear. Audiences want updated versions of these stories, not lectures about why they were problematic in the first place.
I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
As for Rachel Zegler, what happens next remains unclear. Hollywood loves comeback stories, but rebuilding from this kind of reputation damage takes both time and strategy. The very qualities that initially made her appealing to studios, her outspoken nature and modern viewpoints, became major problems when not balanced with respect for beloved material and awareness of what fans expect. Whether she can adjust her approach and recapture her early promise remains one of Hollywood's most watched questions. The story of Rachel Zegler's meteoric rise and dramatic fall serves as a sobering reminder of how fragile fame is in the social media age. One controversial press tour, a few viral video clips, and a box office bomb was all it took to transform Hollywood's brightest new star into its most cautionary tale. For an industry built on fairy tales, it's a decidedly unhappy ending, at least for now. But in Hollywood, as in fairy tales, there's always the possibility of one more plot twist. If you found this shocking Hollywood story interesting, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more eye-opening entertainment coverage. Drop a like if you learned something new about the Snow White controversy, and let me know in the comments if you think Rachel Zegler can ever recover from this career disaster. Also, share your thoughts on whether Disney made the right decisions with their Snow White remake. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.